Hi, this is Mrs. Yamamoto. Today we're going to talk about distance and midpoint. The distance formula is used to find the distance between 2 points. The formula is d equals the square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared. For question number 1, we're going to find the distance between the 2 points on the graph. So the first point I see here is -2, -3, and the second point is -5, 3. So what I want to do is plug these values into the distance formula. When substituting values into the distance formula equation, just make sure you're consistent with your sub values. So if you're going to assign x sub 1, y sub 1 to -5 and 3, just make sure you place those in the right place. And let's go ahead and assign x sub 2, y sub 2 to -2, -3, and let's plug in those values. Now I'm going to go ahead and simplify my equation. So -2 plus 5 will give me 3. -3 minus 3 gives me -6. Three squared gives me 9. -6 squared gives me 36. So my answer is the square root of 45, which if you plug that into your calculator, it's approximately 6 71/100. One question you might be wondering is, why is this a plus sign here? Well, remember, in the formula, we have a minus sign, and we know that these two negatives here would make that a positive. If this was a +5, 3, then in here you would see -2 minus 5. But because this is a subtraction sign here, and then this is negative, that makes this positive. So go ahead and take a moment and try out these two questions here. Show your work in the space provided. The answer to number 2 is the distance between A and B is approximately 7.28 or 7 28/100. And the distance between EF for number 3 is approximately 18 68/100. Next, we're going to talk about the midpoint formula. So we use the midpoint formula to find the midpoint between 2 points. The midpoint formula is going to be m equals x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2, y sub 1 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. Let's go ahead and plug in our values into the midpoint formula. So I plugged in my values, and now I'm going to go ahead and simplify. M is equal to 16 divided by 2, comma, negative 6 divided by 2, which gives us our coordinate after we simplify here as 8 comma negative 3. So 8 comma negative 3 is our midpoint of points G and H. Go ahead and take a moment, see if you can find the midpoint of A and B. Show your work in the space provided. The midpoint is negative 2, 0. So for number 1, in this example, we're going to find the coordinates of A if M, our midpoint, is negative 1 comma 2 of segment AB, and B has coordinates of 3 comma negative 5. So I'm looking for two values. I'm looking for my x value and I'm looking for my y value. We know that our midpoint formula asks us to take the x values, add them up, and divide by 2. And it also asks us to take the y values, add those up, and divide by 2. So what I'm going to do now is just substitute the information given to me into the equation. So first thing I want to substitute is negative 1 for m on the left over here and 2 for y. I'm going to go ahead and set that equal to this quantity right here. So I'm going to now plug in the other values that are given to me. The other values that were given to me were 3 comma negative 5. So I'm going to plug in 3 here, negative 5 over here. And what I'm left with is what I am solving for. So it looks like I'm solving for x sub 2 and y sub 2. So in order to solve for x and y, I need to solve my equation. So I see that I can first multiply both sides by 2. When I multiply both sides by 2, that's going to cancel this out. So I'm going to be left with negative 2 equals 3 plus x sub 2. So x sub 2 is going to be equal to negative 5. On the other side, I can also multiply by 2. I get 4 is equal to negative 5 plus y sub 2. So when I solve this equation, y sub 2 is equal to 9, which means that my coordinate that I'm looking for is going to be negative 5 comma 9. So that is the answer to number 1. I'm going to go ahead and give you the answer to numbers 2 and 3. The answer to number 2 is negative 2 and 14. For number 3, the answer is negative 7 comma 0. So see if you can work these two questions out and get these answers right here. Let's go ahead and take a look at some more midpoint examples. Number 4 says if P is the midpoint of xy, xp is equal to 8x minus 2 and py is equal to 12x minus 30. So we'll find the value of x. Well, if P is the midpoint of xy, let's say that this is our segment xy and P is the midpoint. We're given that xp is equal to 8x minus 2 and py is equal to 12x minus 30. So here's py, 12x minus 30. So in the case that we're told that P is a midpoint, to find the value of x, we're going to set these equations equal to each other. So I'll have 8x minus 2 equals 12x minus 30. Let's go ahead and solve this equation. So after solving the equation, we get the value of x is going to be x equals 7. If this question asked you to find the length of xp, you would simply plug 7 back into the equation to find your answer. So go ahead and try questions 5 and 6. I'm going to go ahead and give you the answer. FH equals 134. QP equals 41. So see if you can solve numbers 5 and 6 and get those answers.